encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network. Hello and welcome to Preachers in Training. I'm Robert Hatfield. This is the podcast where we talk about all things preaching and ministry. And today, we're coming to you once again from the exhibit hall floor in Brewer Sports Center on the campus of Freed-Hardeman University during their weirdly timed spring lectureship. This is kind of weird. Anyway, joined today by Jeremy Hall, pulpit minister for Bartlett Woods, right? Church of Christ.
Yep.
Memphis area.
Arlington. Yeah.
Arlington. Yeah, very good. How you doing, Jeremy?
Good.
Yeah. We were here together back in the day.
We were, yeah.
And now we're back, and here you are. You just spoke about children's ministry.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So you're the pulpit preacher at Bartlett Woods, right?
Yes. I talk to the big kids now.
You talk to the big kids. Have you done other things? You've done youth ministry and stuff before, right?
I did a youth ministry internship and decided I wanted to preach.
Okay.
And then I preached for 7 years, and then I came to Bartlett Woods as the children's and family minister.
Ah, okay. That's what I was wondering.
Transitioned into the pulpit.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So was that how does children's ministry differ from youth ministry? I mean, I know that it is different. I'm just, from your perspective as someone who has now had toes in youth ministry internships and preaching, like you've been in all the worlds now. You just need to be a seniors minister, and then you've done the whole thing.
Yeah, we've looked at interpretive dance jobs, too, so that I can get the gamut.
Okay.
But I don't... No.
People are walking by at weird times.
We certainly got to look.
They're like, what is going on?
No. So I tell people the way that they wanted the job done, the children's and family minister, and they struggled with how to name that job for what they wanted done. So essentially it was 2 years through 5th grade.
Oh.
And I was in charge of the children's Bible school program, ministry to parents and the kids, as well as putting on a yearly calendar of events. Mm-hmm. So it was basically what every youth minister thinks of with youth ministry, just with a younger age bracket. Okay. So if you
Did that include youth as well? Youth group age?
It was hard not to. And even though it went down to 2 years, so I wasn't in charge of nursery, too many parents have a foot in both doors. So if you have an event we do that. My kids are in the youth group now. 2 of them.
How is that possible?
I know. The boys are 12, and so they're in 6th grade. Wow. But Evie's still 7.
Yeah.
So we'll have an event. We had a youth group event last night, and Evie's like, "Yeah, but the boys are going to be there. Can I be there?" There are a lot of parents in that position.
That's right. Okay. So, got it. So how long were you in that position at Bartlett Woods?
I came there in 2020 when I brought the pandemic.
Oh, and then, what a good time to move somewhere.
I know. It was 3 months, and then we were all in our houses. And you know the group of people hardest to keep 6 feet apart? Children. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was the perfect group to minister to.
That was great, yeah.
But no, I was in that until about I don't even remember. It was such a blur. It felt like 10 years happened in 2020.
Oh, every COVID year is worth 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
No, so I moved into the pulpit about 2.5 years ago.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
In that time, you got a lot accomplished, I feel like, just outsider looking in.
We did a lot, yeah.
I want to talk about that on this episode. We're talking about revitalizing your children's Bible class program. And I was there for a summer series a couple of years ago, and one of your elders was very proudly walking me through the building. And I said, man, this is really impressive. And they were like, Jeremy, it's all Jeremy. And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm sure it was a team effort because there was a lot. Yeah. Tell us, first of all, just looking at the end result, I mean, it was a very immersive space. It was very kid-friendly. And by that, I mean, not just decorations, but like paint on the walls, murals. This room has this theme, and that room has that theme. And you were talking about, they were talking about we're going to do this in this room, and we do this in this room. And it was this immersive, cohesive facility that could do all sorts of things. That is my very fickle, anemic summary. That was probably very offensive to you, having given blood, sweat, and tears and COVID during all that time. But,
no, and I definitely did. There are spots I can point to on Sycamore Square where I bled on the walls. There are very specific spots with my blood.
Fortunately, the color was red, so
yes,
it was fine.
It was already that way. But yeah, that's what it's intended to be.
Yeah.
It is a square around our multi-purpose room, our children's classes. So we
Okay.
call it Sycamore Square,
Yeah.
and it is designed like a city square.
That's
so,
cool.
And there are different, K through 5th does a rotation model where they study the same Bible lesson for 4 weeks in a row.
Wow.
And they go to a different class each week. And so they review the lesson in there, but then they participate in another hands-on experience. So in Joseph and Sons carpentry shop, they do something that's kind of hands-on, do something building type or molding type. For example, with creation, they study the lesson, but then they get Play-Doh out and they would build something that has to do with each day of creation and then share them.
Cool.
Or they made a movie of creation pictures in a cardboard TV box we made, things like that. And then in the McManna Diner, which is kind of designed like a 50 Styles diner.
McManna
Yeah.
Diner. I love this. Okay.
And they'll do some kind of food related thing. It allows them to do stuff that they might not normally do. So in the Passover lesson, they will actually walk through a Cedar Passover feast. So they in the diner.
Yeah.
And then Sampson Stadium, they'll do a game type activity in there. Narrowway Theater, it's Narrowway because we don't want to go to Broadway.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
So Narrowway Theater, they'll do a puppet skit of the Bible narrative or act it out, which really helps them memorize it.
Right.
So there's multiple different stations that they go through.
Wow.
And it allows the teachers to teach the same lesson 3 weeks in a row to a different group. So then they get a break every 4 weeks also. So in 12 weeks they sign up for, they really only prepare for 3 lessons.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Talk about, there is, shall we say, some science behind all of this. I mean, this isn't just a big gimmick thing.
Right.
And you're talking about how, acting out the lesson reinforces the lesson or helps for memorization. I mean, talk about some of the ins and outs of the philosophies of some of these changes that you guys made.
Yeah, well, one of the primary things is repetition. So when they study the same Bible lesson 4 weeks in a row and they get it from a different sensory experience, it obviously puts it really deep in their minds. Beyond that, too, we've had teachers since we started the rotation model, they will say, by the time that group gets to me and they've had this lesson twice in a different way, it's like they know it better than I do. So they are remembering it better because of the repetition, but then the different sensory ways they address the different multiple intelligences.
Oh, wow.
So kids learn in different ways. And we have found that some kids like the diner best, some kids like the stadium best, some kids like the theater best. And so the science behind that is it not only allows the kids to learn in the best way they do learn, but it also allows the teachers to do the same thing. We had teachers that started teaching on Sycamore Square that didn't teach children's classes because we had a lady that really liked to cook. And she goes, wait a second, there's a diner where I can go do the lesson and not only teach the Bible lesson, but also do a food-based thing. And we have a guy who's the king of VBS. And he's one of our elders.
Okay.
And he loves it. He teaches in the theater. And even though we provide the curriculum to them, he writes his own skits anyways. Because the guy loves it. And my kids have asked when he took a break, he had cancer treatments, and they said, when's Mr. Dave coming back to the theater?
Oh, cool.
So we had people come in who are, we had a couple teach, and he's a real hands-on build stuff. He teaches in Joseph and Sons, where they do that kind of thing.
Yeah. That is so cool.
No.
How many people does it take to staff a Bible? I mean, is it more than what it was in a more traditional style Bible class setting?
It's not more because of the rotation model.
Okay.
It is more because we, at the same time that we implemented the rotation model and the remodel of Sycamore Square, we also implemented new safety policies.
Okay.
And so
it's a good time to do that.
Right. So we went to a new, there's no such thing ever as one adult in the classroom.
Okay.
So you have to have a helper. And there's a rule of 2 taking kids to the bathroom, so you can't just do that by yourself.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then we had these additional crews we recruited because we have check-in booths where they check in and they get a sticker, and the parent has a duplicate sticker to pick them up, as you experienced while you were there.
Yeah.
So then we have people who do check-in, and those people have to be recruited, and that's like 2, and we put them on like a month shift.
Okay. All
so
right.
it's not more teachers or more classes, but it is more because of the safety policies.
Yeah. All right, can we sidebar to safety policies for just a second? I mean, this is the world we live in these days. I feel like I'm going to make a broad statement that may not always be true, but I feel like generally speaking, we're probably behind the curve in our churches right now relative to kids' safety. A lot of churches have implemented like security teams, or maybe they've put cameras up around the building and there's a guy watching those behind some TVs or something. But as far as the kids stuff goes, I mean, there are insurance liabilities and things like that we need to think through. A lot of that is way above my pay grade or ability to comprehend. But there are some good standard practices that could be helpful in our kids' education. I mean, how far up does this go? I mean, is this all the way to youth group, or as far as these security measures, or is it up to 5th or 6th grade? I mean, is it little kids? What are we?
Yeah,
I'm broad brushing right now. We'll hone in a little bit, but
so some of them do extend up. So there are multiple layers of it. One is we have safety policies that we rewrote for the children's program.
Wow.
And then we have physical security measures. We have safe bolts installed on the doors that have a single red button that a little kid can push if a teacher's incapacitated. With the push of that button, it jams you in. I mean, it's Homeland Security back. And then you have they have taken those and put those on all the classrooms. So our head of security said, why don't we get those on the adult classrooms too, in case of an active shooter situation. But then as far as we do Protect My Ministry, which is a company that they run an interface where you can put all of your people through background checks and child safety training for predators. And so anyone who works on Sycamore Square or with the youth group has been through that. The background checks helps us to protect ourselves with our volunteers.
Right.
But then the safety training helps because it gives you signs and stuff of what it might be like to watch for predator and things like that. And you're right. One of the reasons why we see it happens in churches a lot is because we don't expect it to. So we let our guard down. And that was one of the pushbacks that we got for the program, was we put the safety stuff in place. And one lady who had taught forever, one of our most faithful children's ministry teachers, I'm not doing it anymore. Because I'm not doing a background check to teach a children's Bible class. I'm not doing this. My classroom was locked when I went back there, and I don't like it that they're locking them when we're not back there. Things like that. And I called and talked to her. She worked with multiple government agencies, and she's like, I have to do this stuff all the time. I just don't want to do it at church. And
nobody wants to.
Nobody wants to.
I mean, it's just the world we live in.
And there was the fallback of, why don't we have faith in God to protect us? And and we did. I talked about it as a tool that I believe God has given to us to use. And she did say that. She said, "Oh, you see it as a tool," and I said, "Yeah, I do. Just as much as we put coats on our kids or sunscreen when we send them outside. We want God to protect them, but God gives us tools and resources to do it. And so she warmed back up to it. But it was a little pushback.
Right. I think a lot of us too, we think, well, we know everybody. We've all, maybe we've been in here in this congregation for 15, 20 years. Our kids have never known another church family, and I feel like I know their teachers and I'm okay with them. And I don't know, maybe that's not a great policy in terms of thinking about guests and things like that. We want them to be safe. We want this random family to feel comfortable about leaving their 2-year-old in the 2-year-old classroom.
Well, and to be honest, even though that's kind of the way we initially think, the statistics show that the majority of any kind of abuse of children happens by people they know very well.
Oh, man.
So it's really not like a stranger. Yes, there is stranger danger stuff, but most, primarily sexual abuse, takes place by people they know very well.
Is that right?
And people you didn't expect.
And that's not meaning looking at the church with cynicism. That's just meaning being wise as serpents.
Yeah,
right.
And we put the policies in place, but then we also are practical. There will come a time where there's some kind of scenario and we're like, this kid's got to go to the bathroom. We're trying to handle this, we're handle that, and I'll stand at the door and say, I'll take an older kid and say, you go with them. I'm watching you. Come back. You have to. We try to be. As
what about youth group age? I mean, you're not accompanying youth group. teenagers.
No, they don't put that kind of. We do have safety policies that apply to the kids, and they go through. Volunteers go through the Protect My Ministry background check and training and all of that. Especially since the youth group go on overnight trips.
Oh yeah,
and housing situations and things.
Yes.
So they actually have an additional policy that talks about safety as far as trips and what happens if your child is hurt and who's going to go to the hospital, who's going to sign off, all that. We had to put that stuff in the policy.
Is Protect My Ministry, I mean, it's some kind of service, right?
Yes.
For churches, probably broadly. It's not specifically for churches of Christ,
No,
right?
it's not.
It's a broad thing.
Not, yeah.
Is it a subscription kind of model, or how does that work?
Yeah, so you'll pay a membership fee, and it gives you a certain amount of things you access, and then you there's a pay per for each background check, which is like $15.
Yeah, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a one-stop shop then for all that stuff.
It is, and they have the safety rocket that's a one-time purchase if you want it, and the safety rocket comes with all of these different templates for safety policies that you'd plug your church's stuff in. So a lot of churches want to implement stuff like that, but they get overwhelmed. They're like, we don't write safety policies. How do we? But these are all templates that help you do that.
So good.
Yeah.
And that way too, you don't feel like you have to hire a lawyer or something like that too. I mean, you want some legalese to all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I think you do have to legalize certain stuff, so you have to like get a specific. But we actually called because we've got some lawyers here at Freed. In the program, and some of them actually specialize in church law. So those are good resources.
Right, and you don't have to pay for a lawyer's time to draft the whole thing. You just basically going to look over it and sign off.
Review it, make sure we haven't missed, because sometimes it comes down to wording.
Sure, I understand. Okay, so you were renovating everything.
Yeah.
That sort of took you down a safety rabbit hole a little bit, which was a good thing. By the way, I mean, you all have a great building for this, and you're able to kind of put all the classrooms together around your fellowship area, right?
Yeah.
But some church, like where I am across the street from where we are right now, I mean, it's a Frankenstein building, like so many buildings are. It's been added onto, and so it's like, well, where are the kids' classes? And it's like, well, which ones are you talking about? You know, it could be this way, that way, or up. You know, I mean, so that could be kind of difficult as far as safety stuff is concerned. Is there, talking back about that resource, tell me the name of it again.
Protect My Ministry.
Yes, okay. Are there tips for stuff like that, or is it more of just like, I've got this system, now we're going to overlay Protect My Ministry into it? Yeah,
Protect My Ministry provides the background check service, and what it does is you will get your church's personalized interface and logins, and that system organizes all of your applications and background checks.
Oh, okay.
So you get that, and then you have the safety training, which is just watching a video and answering multiple choice questions.
Perfect.
And then you can get additional stuff like the safety rocket. While there may be tips in there within the templates for things to checklists for safety, physical safety, they don't necessarily address a ton, because I guess it's kind of hard when it is so different.
Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Yeah. I did reach for outside stuff. There are plenty of preparing the church for a active shooter type deal, and those little booklets are good too, because they're gonna cover how to separate your church into quadrants and things like that in that event.
Not pleasant material to review, but important to keep in mind.
Yeah. Well, no church that had that happen to them thought this is going to happen next
Precisely. Yeah. Well, and none of us want it to happen. No, we don't want to be that church.
And unfortunately, we are also a church that. Not unfortunately in that situation, but the churches of Christ do hold to a lot of standard morality that there are a lot of radical people right now kind of against. So we could be, especially since we're broadcasting online a lot now, and those messages are widely heard. Yeah.
Good point. Could be targeted. Okay, so back to the fun stuff. You guys have a great layout. You started the renovation processes. How did you come up with, like, you have Joseph and Sons? I mean, McManna Diner. I mean, where did all that stuff come from? You're a creative kind of brain.
I made it up.
Did you?
That's all.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. So in my mind, I was thinking, well, you must have gotten a group of people together. How did you know? Like, okay, we're going to have this section that focuses on food, and this section that focuses on whatever, Play-Doh, or how do you come up with that stuff?
So we're not the first church to do the rotation model. So there are rotation.org is actually a website that was started.
It's that simple.
Rotation.org is a place where a lot of places that do the rotation model voluntarily, some of their people will submit the activities they do.
Oh, okay.
So I pulled from some of those activities to create that, but there are other churches who've had kind of standard stations, and I picked the ones that I thought would be the best. There's usually one that's a more hands-on type, one that's more like Bible games.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a drama or a acting or puppets. So you just kind of choose the one that you want.
Yeah.
And then from there, I built the Bible curriculum that we use for Sycamore. We don't buy a Bible curriculum for K through 5th anymore.
So how did you walk me through that? I wanted to ask that next. Like, how did you write curriculum for this?
So
this must have taken you forever. Well, it was COVID, so you had some time.
I studied some of the other rotation curriculums, and then I built a template, and then I pulled the Bible class lesson material from the Apologetics Press free kids curriculum.
Oh, good. Okay.
At AP Curriculum.
Yeah.
So if anybody we share the Sycamore curriculum for free with any church that wants to use it.
Where can people find that on your website?
They can email me.
Email you. Okay, got it.
jhall@bartlettwoods.org,
Okay.
and we send that for free. It's not ours anyways. It's piecemealed from all kinds of stuff.
Compiled.
Yeah. And so, but if they wonder, well, we don't even know this Jeremy Hall guy. Well, if you trust AP, the Bible lesson
Apologetics
stuff comes
Press.
from them. There were some times where I was like, Kyle Butt, you don't know what you're talking about. And I would adjust. No, I'm just kidding.
You called out Kyle Butt.
No, actually, it's his mom. It's Sheila anyways, and I'm more afraid of her.
Yes.
But anyways, no, we took that and, of course, just kind of adapt, to our children's stuff. And then the rotation activities that they may do in the different stations. Those are either I may have come up with it, or I look through ideas at rotation.org and kind of adjusted them. And anytime that's the case, it's footnoted where it came from.
Cool. How long did this take you, start to finish?
I did some studying before I came there, January 2020. But then I had to put together the plan for reconstructing the whole thing and ordering every tiny individual piece of anything that we were doing. And so I put all that together and proposed it, and we walked through that. And then I wrote the curriculum while it was being built. So we started in January 2020, and then we started classes on Sycamore Square in August.
So from January to August.
Yeah. So, but one thing though is when we shut down for COVID, no one was meeting in those classrooms.
Right.
So we had free reign to do construction in there without anybody doing anything.
And you must have been a writing machine during that time.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
But I knew we had to get it done and had to get it, You
were motivated.
Yeah. So, but it did help that it was more piecemeal than it was me like, okay, today I'm writing a lesson on Zacchaeus.
Yeah. Did you hire out the construction work, or was that?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there was some major.
Of it, which was
there
the bleeding?
The bleeding
that was involved.
Right. Was I mean, there were major. Like were you knocking down walls and moving stuff around, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So we didn't do any structural changes. So we didn't have to have an architect sign off on structural changes.
Okay.
It was all cosmetic, but we got Wagner Construction. Phil Wagner.
Yeah.
Who owns Wagner Construction, used to be an elder at Bartlett Woods.
Yeah, okay.
So we had
it's a natural thing.
Yeah, so we hired them to do it. I did some of it that I figured we could do and save money.
You're just a Jeremy of all trades.
Well, some of that is now currently falling down. And
it lasted 5 years. Okay.
No, we really did, because there's plexiglass on the wall to mimic the glass of looking out of an airport onto airlines.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I put the tin stripping at the top and then the plexiglass that we cut and put up there, and I never uncovered the security light. So it was completely covered with metal and plexiglass.
Yeah.
And I either had to take it all off the wall, or I actually bent and reached under and was cutting metal, and that's why there's blood behind the plexiglass. You can't even get to it now. Terrible. It's back there. So.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, people, I mean, I don't know what they're envisioning, and you almost have to just see it to really appreciate it. But I mean, this place, the diner, it looks like a diner.
Like a 50s diner. Yeah, we wanted to make it. So if you go to bartlettwoods.org, I think there are picture slideshows under the children's ministry stuff that you can kind of look at some of it.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't like we're going to throw this up for VBS and hope the tape holds for a week. I mean, this is a big deal, major, permanent kind of thing.
And I will say two things there. One is, we want to be a good steward. I'm very cautious about spending money on stuff that we don't really need to spend it on.
Sure.
I do see the benefit in if this is going to help our children's program, and it is a draw for visitors. We have families that stayed because they feel safe with their kids back there and they think they're learning.
Good. Good.
But so we said, let's do, if we could have everything we ever dreamed of, let's just propose that, and we know we're not going to get it.
Yes.
So then we'll back down the bid from there.
Okay, good.
And that's what, and we cut it down a lot because I don't want to waste money.
Yes.
But at the same time, you don't have to do all of that. I have seen pictures on rotation.org of churches and their classrooms, and they're just decorated classrooms, and there's not like a reno or anything.
Right.
They have a sign that says it, because you can still do all of the rotation activities and classes without a room that's been renovated.
Right.
So I wouldn't want to discourage, if you're a smaller church and you don't want to, or you just don't feel the need to put up money to any kind of decorating, if you still want to do the rotation model, you can. And the curriculum is still generalized to be adapted.
Well, and hey, I mean, kids are a pretty easy audience, which is always great.
Yeah.
I mean, any kind of festivity or fun, they're all about it. Even if you just brought a balloon in the room.
Yeah.
It's like, this is great. Having said that, and I understand what you're saying, and stewardship and all that. We want to be careful about the way that we use the Lord's money. That doesn't mean that the Lord's work needs to be second rate.
Sure.
Or less than. And what I appreciate about you guys, being budget conscious, but it's top-notch stuff. I mean, it looks good.
Well, and I will say that you will save money in the long run with the rotation model, because we don't buy curriculum for K through 5th ever.
Right.
We have it forever.
That's a good
and
point.
It's free.
Yeah,
so.
that's a good point. And it's worth looking into how much money you're spending on a quarterly basis
It's a
or
lot.
whatever.
It's
expensive.
A lot. And I don't want to just take money away from our brotherhood.
Yes.
People we
That's
still
right.
use 21st
That's right.
century's immersed curriculum for our 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s.
Oh, okay.
Because we don't start the rotation until kindergarten.
Got it. Okay. About the curriculum again, we're all over the place with this. Sorry, everybody, but we don't have a script. We're just kind of having a conversation.
We're like the children we're talking about.
Squirrel. What? Okay. You said it's based on the apologetics press curriculum. So how does that work as far as walking through the biblical content in what amount of time? I mean, and you're doing this one lesson 4 weeks in a row.
Yep.
From different perspectives. So how much ground biblically do you cover over a period of time?
Yeah. So at the beginning, and there's a scope and sequence at the beginning of the Sycamore curriculum. And what we chose to do was I looked through and picked the narratives I wanted to do, because you're right.
Yeah.
If you do the same lesson 4 weeks in a row, that's less that you can cover.
Right.
So, but what it does is it covers the Old Testament and New Testament. So we do it on Sunday morning and Wednesday night. Old Testament track on Wednesday night. New Testament track on Sunday mornings.
Okay.
So they do cover that. So it's a 6-year scope, but it's a 3-year Bible scope. So in 3 years, they'll go through the whole Bible.
Oh,
then the next 3 years of the K through 5th, they'll go through the Bible again. So they go through the narratives twice. Each time they come back to it, they don't do the same activity in those stations.
Oh, wow.
So they don't repeat. They repeat the Bible lesson, but not the activity. So it is 6 years worth of activities.
What's amazing, though, I mean, 3 years, but that's the whole Bible, and you've covered each of the lessons.
A lot of the major stuff, but
4 times. That's amazing.
There's a lot of things that they obviously don't get to. So on our Sunday night, we had a thing Faith Builders where the kids learn in there.
Yeah.
So I wrote the Faith Builders curriculum.
Oh, wow.
And it covers the narratives we don't get to in the Sycamore curriculum. So I filled the gaps with Sunday night. So if you're looking for
is that a rotational thing or no?
No, that's they take the youngest kids and put them in like a junior Faith Builders.
Okay.
And then the others, they're all together. And it's designed for that. It's designed for a broad age together class.
Okay.
But if you're looking for something to do on Sunday night with kids or something like that, want to have a class for them, Faith Builders is where I covered the gaps of the stuff we didn't get to cover because we do 4 weeks in a row.
That's amazing.
On Sunday morning, Sunday night.
Wow. So. Okay. This is really good. You know, I hate to say that I think some people outside looking in, they can be a little judgmental. They can look at this and say, why'd they spend all that money on this? Or it's just a bunch of glitz and glamour. What I'm hearing is that's not at all the motivation. I mean,
No.
You want Bible class to be exciting. I mean, the same way we want VBS to be exciting. I mean, it's a special push, and I want my kids to want to learn about the Bible. Why wouldn't we? At the same time, what y'all are doing is thoughtful. It's backed by the science of learning. All of that is just really, really encouraging. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
And Bartlett Woods wanted to do that before I got there.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what the rotation model was, so I had to study it before I got there.
Okay.
And then we built it from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do as little or as much as you see fit.
Yeah. Okay.
For those funds,
Right.
in doing that. But yeah, we see it as a tool to do that.
Good.
One cool part of it too is we have a missions rotation at the end of every year of the curriculum. There's 4 weeks where they study a missional passage. One of the missions Bartlett Woods supports, which you can plug your own mission in there if you use the curriculum to adapt. But what the rotation model does is it allows them to experience what the world is like for other kids and see that we're all still united under Christ. Because in the diner, let's say they're doing the Thailand mission. In the diner, they'll eat food that's indigenous to Thailand.
Oh, wow.
They will, in the stadium, they will play, not only they'll study the lesson, but they also play a game that's like a schoolyard game in that part of the world for kids.
Wow.
They'll make maps of Thailand and pictures of the missionaries and stuff like that. So they get to experience, like in the Bible rotation lesson in Joseph and Sons, they make papyrus when they're studying about how the Bible was made. So they really come away with experiences of it. I mean, it made the Bible real for them.
Right.
Not that you have to have that.
Yes.
So I don't want
Right.
to give the impression that if you don't do the rotation model for your kids, your kids aren't going to learn the Bible.
Right.
I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
I don't think you grew up with it.
No, I did not.
It is an alternative method,
Yeah.
but I think God can work with any well-intentioned method.
Yes. Right.
But this is what we've chosen to do that we think was good at Bartlett Woods.
Wow, that's really cool. And you don't forget stuff like that. I mean, in the same way that if you've ever heard a sermon and the preacher used some kind of unique object lesson, let's just, that's not something the preacher can necessarily do every week. And if he did, you probably wouldn't remember every one of them. But the fact that he does it special, it stands out.
Yeah.
You don't make papyrus every week. You don't eat Thai food every Bible class.
Yeah. They didn't really like it anyway.
Where are the chicken tenders?
I learned halfway through that you need backup foods.
Cheese pizza, please.
And that international desserts tend to be better hits.
Of course. Yeah. I didn't think of that. But do you remember that? And that sticks with you throughout your whole life. And we all know the stories of, and this is why Bible classes are so important. Let's be honest, it is a tradition of ours. No, there's no place in the Bible that says thou shalt have Bible classes. Yeah. But we believe it's important. Our elders certainly are responsible for teaching and feeding the flock. And so we do this, and we all know the stories of the kids who go to Bible class and they had a meaningful experience, however huge the wow factor was or lack thereof, and that's what got their families stuck at that congregation and therefore introduced them to Jesus, and the rest is history.
Yeah, if your church building has a stained glass window, you're actually already in that tradition. Studying through church history, stained glass windows in the medieval pyramid were created to teach people who were illiterate, the way that a lot of children are. So they were used to teach based on colors and images, Bible lessons for people who couldn't read.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
See?
A little pizzazz from the medieval period.
I like that pizzazz.
Yeah.
Medieval pizzazz.
It seems like oxymoron, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, man. If somebody's wanting to kind of get started looking at this direction, I mean, rotation.org. I mean, where do you think? Check you guys out, Bartlett Woods?
Yeah,
I mean, what do you think?
if you'll email me, jhall@bartlettwoods.org, I have a link that I send to people who want to look at it, and it will have the entire curriculum digitally, and we print as needed. And then so you'll get that, and then you'll get a document that says it answers questions like, what is the rotation model?
Okay.
What does this look like? And then if you have further questions, you're welcome to email me. I let the group know in my lecture, if you get to the point where your elders are like, we want to implement this, we're ready to go, but we have a lot of questions that we need to think through, I'm more than happy to answer questions too for your eldership, because obviously we had to dig into every detail of this. So, and you live and learn with this program. So we have adjusted the curriculum as we've gone, because we're like, I envisioned that activity working well, and it didn't. So that we make adjustments as we go.
Kind of like you don't eat the Thai entrees, you eat the Thai desserts.
It gets changed a little bit over time.
You've been at this now for, better part of 5 years, 4.5, 5 years.
Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, it sounds like you're thinking it's a worthy investment.
Yeah, I think it has been, for sure.
Have you seen a difference in the kids' Bible knowledge, or maybe their excitement for class, or even Bible class retention? I mean, I don't know if numbers would reflect any of this, but have you noticed any of that?
Yeah, we had an increase in numbers, and we're actually able to track the numbers pretty well because we do have the digital check-in system,
right,
so we can just pull it as a report.
Cool.
But yeah, we've seen numbers. We have multiple families who place membership with kids that I would say it was a big factor in them because they feel safe with their kids back there. They feel like they're learning. And I do believe like I said, we've had teachers that say by the time they get to me, they already know this stuff. So we spend a lot of time just reviewing and then diving into this activity. So I do believe there's retention in it. I asked Ben Coleman, was the youth minister when I first started there, and I asked him, I said, what is the gap for kids coming into your youth group from the children's program? What should they know that they don't know that you wish you didn't have to relay that foundation? So tried to get in stuff and craft it in that way.
Yeah, very cool. Jeremy Hall, preacher for the Bartlett Woods Church of Christ in Arlington, Tennessee. Thanks for your time, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to catch back up. Yeah. And we want to appreciate and express our appreciation to you for being a part of this edition of Preachers in Training. Remember to follow, subscribe, whatever, in your favorite podcast app or on YouTube if you prefer to see Jeremy's ageless face. Let's go preach the word.